I hope all of you are getting an idea of just core Python concepts what we discussed in yesterday's class and as well as a few days back. Just I given a glance of core Python concepts in yesterday's class. Now today onwards I'll start actual advanced Python programming. So let me start with object-oriented programming. So Python is also object-oriented programming language like C++ or Java. I don't know how many of your are C++ or Java. So I'll tell you why it is known as object-oriented programming language. Okay, so first we need to know what are the object-oriented programming concepts. So if I say Python is object-oriented programming language, or if I say some Java is object-oriented programming language, what is the reason behind that? So Python is object-oriented programming language. So if I want to conclude that a programming language is object-oriented programming language, definitely it is going to satisfy the concepts of object-oriented programming concepts, right? So what are the object-oriented programming concepts? So in object-oriented programming concepts, we'll discuss about first what do you mean by class? Next, what do you mean by object? So what do you mean by inheritance? Next, what do you mean by polymorphism? Next, what do you mean by data abstraction? And encapsulation. So these all are comes under object-oriented programming concepts. Okay. Recorded video. Okay, Rajesh sir will share you. I'll share the recorded notes, the class notes, and Rajesh sir will share the video. Okay. Yeah. So why this object-oriented programming language is nowadays very popular? If you observe here, before Python, let's say before 2020, Java is dominated the entire world. If you are having any requirement in any company, then definitely they are going to ask you, do you know Java? So why Java is having that much of reputation, that much of popularity before 2020? The reason is, of course, we have some other languages also apart from Java at that time. Even C is there, C++ is there, PHP is there. Okay, and some other languages are also there. But most of you are maybe heard about your brothers or sisters. If they are working in any company, definitely they will talk about Java only, or they may suggest you, or they may guide you. You learn Java. So that is the reason why the most of the students are going to learn Java, even though if you are from other background, means irrespective of whether you are CSC student or non-CSC student. So you are going to learn the Java, and once you are getting some expertise in Java, then definitely you are having more number of opportunities. The only reason why why the people are going to learn Java, especially if you observe in Hyderabad, there are only few institutes, especially they are having brand for Java only. Okay, so that is the popularity of Java before 2020. It's entirely dominated the market. throughout the world, throughout the globe. If you are having any vacancy, definitely that vacancies are mostly in Java language only. So the reason behind why it is having that much of popularity, why you are not having those many jobs in other languages like C or Python or some other languages, the reason may be, as I mentioned, Java is purely object-oriented programming language. Okay. So what do you mean by object-oriented programming language? So a language which is going to satisfy the object-oriented programming concepts, or a language which is going to implement the object-oriented programming concepts, is nothing but a object-oriented programming language. If I talk about C language, in C language actually these are not there. Classes are not there. Objects are not there. Inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, encapsulation. These all are not there in C language. So that's why C is not object-oriented programming language. But if I talk about C++, if I talk about Java, if I talk about .NET, or if I talk about Python, so all these are going to implement these object-oriented programming concepts. So that is the reason why they are known as object-oriented programming languages. Okay. So now, what do you mean by class, and how we are going to implement this class in Python? So the concept of class is same in any object-oriented programming language, but coming to implementation, then implementation details are going to be varied, because it's going to be varied from one language to another language depending on its syntax. So if I talk about Python, I can write a class in a different way, and if I talk about Java, then I can write a class in other way, and if I talk about C++, I can write the same class in other way, because the syntax of each and every programming language is different. But the concept, how we are going to implement, and what is the meaning of class, that is same actually. Concept is not going to be changed. So how can we define a class? In general, what a class consists of? Okay, class is nothing but class is a combination of data, members, and methods. So this is a simple definition of a class. Class consists of data, members, and methods. What do you mean by data member? What do you mean by method? So here a data member is nothing but simply we can say variables, and methods are nothing but we can call it as a functions. This is the basic definition what a class consists of. A class consists of data members and methods. Data member is nothing but, for example, I have A, B, C, X, Y, Z. So all these are nothing but data members only. If I have some variable in my program, that is, I can call it as a data member. Okay. So data member is nothing but simply we can say it's a variable. Okay. So method is nothing but, already we know method is nothing but simply it's going to perform some task. So basically method is nothing but simply it's a function. It's going to perform some task, right? So how can I declare a class in Python, or how can I implement a class in Python? So if I want to implement a class in Python, then I need to create a class first. So what might be the syntax of this class in Python? So class is actually, it is a keyword, and you can write your class name here, class name, and you need to write I want to write some function here. So I can write some method one, and if you want, you can define. Okay, so I'll write the logic for method one, and similarly, if you have any data members, you can define data members also. Okay, so this is the basic syntax for a class. Class is nothing but simply it is having method and members. So it is need not be all the classes should have both data members and methods. Some classes may not have data members, or some classes may not have the methods also. So the methods and data members is not compulsory in each and every class. For example, if I talk about a class, employee class, in employee class, I may not have any method. I have only data members. Maybe data members are like employee name, employee ID, salary. So that is a data member. If I talk about student class, in student class, I may not have data members. I have only methods. Read student data, display student data. These are the methods are there. Okay, it may not have only any data, right? So some class, maybe it is having both. It's having data members and as well as methods. So it's not compulsory that each and every class should have both. So that is depending on our requirement, depending on what type of application we are working on. It may have data members, or it may have methods, or it may have combination of these both. Okay, so this is a simple syntax. Let me give some examples so that you can understand how we are going to implement this. Let me give some syntax example. Okay, so I'll give some simple example for student. So class, I'm going to take some student here. Student is class name actually. So for student name, I can take some data. Data is nothing but hall ticket number. Hall ticket number is nothing but I can consider something like, and I can write some name. Name is equals to, I can write some ABC. Okay, so now I will define some method also. Define. Okay, I want to show. Show means just I want to display the details of a student. So I'll explain this. What do you mean by self? So here I want to write some function here, show, and here I can write print of self dot hall ticket number, comma self dot name. What it is going to do? So this is a class, right? So here, as I mentioned, class is a keyword followed by the name of the class. Name of the class is here student. So now I want to create a student class, and what the student class is having? The student class is having some information. That is what we can call it as hall ticket number and name. These are nothing but known as data members, or we can call it as attributes, or we can call it as variables. You can give any name, it doesn't matter. But in general, in class context, it is known as data member. Okay, so data member means simply variable. So here hall ticket number and name, these will be called as data members, and we have a method. Method is show. So whenever we are going to have a method in a class, whenever we are going to have any method in a class, the first parameter you need to pass is a self. By default, you need to pass a self parameter. If you have some other parameters, then you can pass those parameters also, but the first parameter must be self. So what do you mean by this self? Self is nothing but it is used for referring a variable. Okay, so what it is going to refer? So here self is going to refer, self will refer, so self will refer current class. Okay, object. So this is the meaning of self. So in Java or in C++, you may heard about this. Okay, so the self is very similar to this actually. In Java, we have a this pointer actually. This means we are talking about current class. Okay, or we are talking about current context. So here also self means self is nothing but it is a reference variable. So what it is going to refer? It is going to refer the current class object. It's going to refer the student class object. So always in your function definition, here I'll write always in method definition. Always in method definition, we need to pass the self as a first argument. As the first argument. Okay. So this is the meaning of self. Okay. So yeah. So far what we discussed, just I given the definition of a class. Class is nothing but simply it's a combination of data members and methods. What do you mean by data member? A data member is nothing but simply variable in our regular context. A variable is nothing but a data member, and a method is nothing but simply a function. And all the classes need not be data members and methods. Some classes may not have data members, or some classes may not have methods, and some classes may have both data members and methods also. So in this example, in student example, I took both data members and methods. The data members are hall ticket number and name. I assign some values for hall ticket number and name, and the method is a show, right? And whenever you are going to have method in any class, so by default you need to send the parameter. The parameter is nothing but self. So what self parameter? Self parameter is going to refer the current instance of your class. Okay, so it's going to refer the current instance. We are talking about the student class. So student class is nothing but I don't need to write the student again and again. Instead, I can use self. Self means I'm talking about the current class instance. Okay, so this is about class. Okay, if you want, you can create any number of classes like this. I can create some more class like employee class, where I can consider employee name, employee ID, and some salary. So I'll give one more example so that you can understand better. So in this actually I took all the data members and methods. So I'll create one more class here, employee class. In employee class, I can take EID. EID, I can consider, I'll give some value for EID 101 and the name. I can give employee name as some name XYZ and define. Okay, it is may not be there. As I mentioned, all the classes may require this. Okay, so if you want, you can define, but that is up to you what type of application you are working on. Okay, so this is about in general. If you want to create any class, you need to use the class keyword. So here class is a keyword actually. It's a keyword in Python. As I mentioned yesterday, we have 30 keywords in Python, right? In the 30 keywords, class is also one of the keyword. So it's going to identify that you are writing a class, you are defining a class, right? So like that you can implement any type of class. Let's say you are going to write a class for textbook. So what might be the data members? What might be the methods? A textbook may have some author name, title, number of pages, and price of the book. So these will become the data members. And what about methods? Methods, maybe I want to uh, allot this book. Okay, for example, you are you are going to take this book from the library. Then what librarian is going to perform? Okay, is going to perform issue operation. Issue operation. Issue means he is going to give the book to you. Issuing. So issue, or maybe you are going to submit the book also. So these are the two operations. Maybe if you are going to take the book, then librarian is going to issue the book to you. Or if you want to, for example, you want to pay some fine for the textbook. You took some textbook from the library, and you are supposed to pay some fine. So then pay fine is one of the method. Pay fine. So let's say how can I write that method? Let me write an example. So for a class. So this is example one, student example, and this is example two, employee example. And similarly, I want to give one more example. For example, I will give textbook book example, class book. So in this book, actually, we have some title of the book. The title of the book is, let's say, Python programming is the title of the book. Python programming is the title of the book, and author name. Author name is, let's say, some Williams. Next, maybe I'll have some other data members like price of the book. Price of the book is, let's say, 500. And pages, number of pages. Number of pages are nothing but, let's say, some 600. Okay. So these all are nothing but the data members. Title, author name, price, number of pages. These all are nothing but data members. And now I can write some methods. So here I want to check whether it's available or not. Then I can write some method like is available. Is available is a method. So what is this is available? Is available is nothing but, for example, a student is asking for this textbook in a library. Then the librarian has to check. That is what operation. Checking is nothing but operation, right? Is going to check whether it is available or not. Okay. If it is available, then only is going to issue the textbook. If it is unavailable, then he is not able to issue, right? So that's why here I can write the method as like is available. And similarly, you can write some other methods like for example, let's say it is available. If it is available, then I can write one more method, issue. Okay, issue is nothing but one more method. So issuing is also nothing but one type of operation. And next, search is also one type of operation. I want to check how many textbooks are available with this title Python programming or with the other name Williams. So these are the different types of methods are available. So whether it is available, whether it is issued, or whether it is uh, you want to pay any fine for that. Okay. So or you want to know how many instances, how many copies are available this textbook in your library. So all these you can consider as the method for the class book. Okay. So it is depending on the type of the example you are working on. It may be book example, or it may be student example, it may be employee example, or maybe you can consider any type of example. Depending on the type of the example, first you need to list out what are the data members and what are the methods. You need to list out first, because whenever you are going to create any class for any type of application, you must know what will be considered as data members and what will be considered as methods. So for example, I may consider some example like I want to find out the area of a rectangle. So here the class is rectangle. So for the rectangular class, I can say rectangular box. Okay. So for the rectangular box class, what are the attributes, or what are the attribute means members only. For the rectangular class, what I can consider as an attribute and what I can consider as method. So first you need to decide, because if you don't know what will be considered as data member and what will be considered as method, then your entire implementation will be wrong. So that's why most of the students are going to understand what might be the method and what might be the data member. If you understand this data member and method, then obviously you can implement any type of a class on that particular application. If you are working with any type of project, definitely you need to use this classes concept. Classes is one of the very important topic. If you are doing any project, definitely you need to use this classes concept. So that's why this object oriented Python is very important, because you need to use this concept to implement some application, and with the help of this object oriented programming features, you are trying to implement that application, or you are trying to solve some real world problem. That is what project is all about. So if I given some real world problem, how we are going to solve? So you need to use some technology, right? The technology is nothing but maybe you can use some Python or you can use some other language, but how you understand that I can use Python for this application, or I can use Java for this application, or I can use C for this application. So that is also very important, right? So depending on the type of the application, depending on the type of the project what you are working with, you need to decide. And once the application is clear, then you can understand what will be the class name and what will be the method name and what will be the data members. Okay, so these all are very important. Okay, so that is the reason why I given 3 examples. You may understood now what will be considered as data member and what will be considered as a method. Okay, like this, you can implement any class for any type of real world problem. Right. Now, what do you mean by object? So, and if you want, you can define one more definition for a class. For example, if somebody asked you, what do you mean by class with respect to object? What do you mean by class with respect to object? So I can define class. Class is collection of related objects. This is one more definition. So what is the meaning of this definition? Just I used a new technical word called object here. Okay. Class is collection of related objects. And a class is collection of similar objects. So instead of related, we can write similar objects also. So what is the meaning of this line? What is the meaning of this definition? So to understand this definition, I'll give a simple example. For example, you are from CMA class, right? So in CMA class, let's say you have 60 members are there. So for example, roll number 1 is a part of CMA class. Roll number 2 is a part of CMA class. Roll number 3 also part of CMA class. And similarly, roll number 60 also part of CMA class. So now, if I asked you, can you define CMA class? So my question is, so let's say I'll consider example of class CME. In this class CME, who will be there? Let's say, for example, roll number 1. Roll number 1 is CME student, and similarly, I'll have I'll have 60 students are there like this. Roll number 2, roll number 3, like this. I have 60 students are there, right? So here, if I want to talk about like this, I have some 60 students are there. So I can consider this roll number 1 to roll number 60 as a CME class because roll number 1 is going to have some subjects in CME first year. Roll number 2 also having the same subjects. So that is the reason why I use the word similar or related. What is the meaning of similarity here? Of course, roll number 1 is an object of a CME class. Roll number 2 is an object of CME class. And roll number 60 also object of CME class. So here, what is an object? Object is nothing but simply it's a part. So in CME class, total 60 students are there. If I consider one student, let's say roll number 1. So roll number 1 is a part of CME. And roll number 2 is also part of CME. So that's why I can call it as roll number 1 is an object of CME class. Roll number 2 is an object of CME class. Or instead of roll number, you can write I can write some other number 501. Roll number 501 is a part of CME. Roll number 502 is a part of CME. And similarly, roll number 560 is a part of CME, right? So here 501 is an object of CME class, 502 is an object of CME class, and so on 560 also object of CME class. Similarly, I'll have one more class. Similarly, I'll have one more class. So the other class is EC class. EC class. So here I have some student 401 and 402 and so on. Similarly, here also I have 60 numbers, right? So now if you see here, this EC class also having 60 members, but 401 is belongs to EC class, 402 belongs to EC class, and so on 460 belongs to EC class. So here my question is, can I say 401 is an object? Yes, 401 is an object, but 401 is an object of which class? Is it EC class or CAC class? So 401 is an object of CEC class. So that is the reason why I use this word related or similar. What is the meaning of related or similar? 401 is not going to become an object of CME class. Or 501 is not going to become an object of ECE class. Why? Because the object, the information, the data shared by 501, 502, and so on 560 are different from 401. But 401, 402, and 460, what they are going to have is different from 501. So that's why 501 to 560 are going to form a CSC class or CME class, and 401 to 460 are going to form ECE class. So that is the reason why if I remove the word similar or related here, the entire context is going to be changed. For example, if I remove this, what will happen? Let us assume that this is not there. Then class is collection of objects. Is it right? Is a class collection of objects? No. Because if I want to say 501 is object, 502 is object, 401 object, 402 object, if I combine 501, 502, 560, 401, 402, 460, is it going to get a class? No. We are not getting same class, right? So that is the meaning of related or similar. Right. Any doubts so far? If you have any doubts, you can type in the chat box. Okay, so this is very basic concept actually. So what do you mean by class? What do you mean by object? Object is nothing but simply I can define object is nothing but it's an instance of class. Instance means what? Instance means it's a part. Like as I mentioned, 501 is an object of CMA class. 502 is an object of CMA class. 560 is an object of CMA class. 401 is an object of CMA class. 402 is an object of CMA class. 460 is an object of CMA class. But 401 will not become an object of CME, and 501 will not become an object of ECE. Right? So because they are different objects and they belong to different classes. Right? So this is about the basic idea of class and object. Right? So if you consider this class, for example, advanced Python class. In advanced Python class, let's say some 75 students are there. Each and every student is an instance of this advanced Python class. For example, if I talk about some other students, for example, some students are there in core Python class. So that core Python class students are different and advanced Python class students are different. The reason is they are going to have different properties. They are going to have different methods. They are going to have different data members. But they are not part of this class, right? Can we change the class name after declaring class name? Yes, you can change. There is no rule like in Java. Actually, in Java there is a rule, right? What is the rule? If you want to create a class in Java, class name and file name must be matched. For example, if my class name is student in Java, I'm talking about in Java. If my class name is student in Java, then I'm supposed to save the program with the student.java only. If I don't save with the student.java, then your Java interpreter is going to give you an error. But here in Python, there is no rule like that. You can create a class with any name and you can save with the file with any other name. There is no any such rule in Python, right? So this is about basic idea of classes and objects. And okay, we'll continue in the next class regarding some more examples of objects and some more okay programs. Actually, I didn't started the programming so far, but we'll start slowly the programs also from next class onwards. Still, if you have any doubts, you can type it in chat box.